Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today at the start of an interesting activity within CLIMAS project. More about CLIMAS project you'll find out immediately from my colleagues. Until then, I would like to do a very quick housekeeping. We would like you to put any questions or any interactions you would like with us or with the panelists through the Q&A section of this, and then we will immediately interact with you. I'm Lucia Crista. I'm the Managing Director of European Integrated Projects, very proud partner in this CLIMAS project, a very interesting one that looks into how climate assemblies as a very sophisticated tool for engagement can support cities and regions to reach their climate change agenda. Because we have a very tight schedule today, I would like to already introduce you my colleagues that will be panelists today in this session. We will have Floridea Di Ciomo that will do an introduction of CLIMAS project, and then we have Arantxa from Mediharat, I hope I pronounced correctly, from Deliberativa, and then Pablo Garcia from GenCat in Barcelona, and our colleagues from TVS, Suchi Puja. I will tell a bit more about them later on, but without further ado, I can invite Floridea, and maybe supported my colleague Yolanda, to share her screen and present us the project. Before she is preparing to present, I can tell you that Floridea is a dear friend. She is the head of Cambiamo agency for research and development. She's very she's very dedicated to climate change. She is also an observer for the UN Framework Climate Change Conference, which is a very important, let's say, activity and role that she has. And I'm very proud that I know her and for this activity. Within her capacity as head of Cambiamo, she participates in many important and interesting projects funded by European Commission. Without further ado, Floridea, please introduce us in CLIMAS project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucia, for your kind words, and thank you very much, Yolanda, for sharing the screen from my side. Always when we have the webinar, I face some technical issues, so thank you very much. I'm not a very techie woman, even if I would like to be. Okay, so nice to see all of you here during this training of CLIMAS, and what we would like to provide you this is really a explanation of the genesis of this project that it's very basically based on the citizen climate assemblies. And what is a citizen assembly? Is a mechanism of deliberative democracy where we bring together diverse and representative samples of the population for deliberate. So I would like to highlight this word because deliberation is not only consultation, and this means that we go further in the participatory framework, in an inclusive participatory framework, and we ask to citizens not only to giving us their opinion, their feedback, but to giving us recommendation on how to do policies. And this is a step forward in the democracy. So it's something that we need to consider. And then the second point is that CLIMAS project, based on the experience of the previous climate assemblies that we had around Europe, especially at the national level, in France, in Scotland, in Germany, or in UK, we observed that the participation was not so inclusive. We didn't find too many women and girls in all the diversities to participate, not so many immigrants, not so many people with disabilities. So what we asked to our partners, especially the assemblies partners involved, is to try to do a stratification of the lottery that is done usually for climate citizen assemblies. And this stratification should be done with an inclusive criteria and intersectional approach. Next slide, please. So what was the methodology behind the CLIMAS project? This is like in French we said an escargot, a shell in English, and this is design thinking and value-based approach. So we try to put together what was the ground needs from an organization like Deliberativa that were working already in the citizen assemblies, and they said, we are not tackling with the real issues in the assemblies most of the time. We needed to provide a method for helping citizens to understand the real impacts of the decision here, because this recommendation will be policies afterwards for the local governments, regional and national. I think that Pablo will talk more about that. So we went through that, and we decided to go with this design thinking approach, where first of all, we needed to build a kind of empathy among partners, among people participating in the living labs, among people that, because we need to work in this way to define the problem. So this is the idea, and to ideate the engagement at the local level. And then we prototype, we test, and we calibrate. And this seems very simple. We test once again, simple wording, but there are a lot of work here. Actually, at this moment, we are almost at the end of our project. We have almost finalized the deliverables that are critical for the testing and the calibration. And really, we had a lot of work for understanding afterwards as well how the tools, the co-creation of tools was tested, was calibrated, was retested, and what are the tangible results of our project. Next slide, please. Stakeholder engagement is a key part of the story. We try to use, we started to use as well in CLIMAS different way, or not only stakeholder engagement, but as well rights holder engagement, because we have the stakeholders who have the stake in the situation, so entrepreneur, policymakers, social partner, citizen in some way, but then we have as well the person who are more affected by climate change issues, disaster, and so on. And this is our rights holders, and these are the person that we would like to include more in our deliberation process. This is why we did the stratification. This is why we define and training for facilitators for the climate assemblies, and to be more inclusive, to hear exactly all of participants there, as well the participants who are most shine. So to all these aspects are key for working in this way, and as well for making citizens, regardless of physical, cognitive, sensorial condition, socioeconomic, education level, ethnic origin, gender, really a key participant of the citizen assemblies. Next slide, please. So from citizen deliberation to recommendation, the right to participate in the climate decision is a human rights. and it is reaffirmed as human rights through the Action Climate Empowerment within the United Nations framework CCC agenda, Conference of Climate Change agenda. And the climate assemblies are doing an incredible work to hold local and national authorities accountable to focus their commitments on the needs of the citizens. So this is CLIMAS has the ambition as well to operationalize this human rights of participation. And we worked as well a lot on the consent form, on the free prior informed consent. That is as well an advocacy goal that we have within the UNFCCC when we would like to bring grassroots and local community in the global climate change decision. Next slide, please. Okay, how they look like the citizens' recommendations. There are three forms of getting in climate change policies. One is the political incidence. The second one is the advocacy, through a bottom-up process of recommendation definition. So just for giving you the degree where we are. So we are really in the policy arena, in the governance arena, and this is a form of government as well. So of course we started with political incidents. We started to see if we can have meeting with the local authorities. Then we pass to the advocacy part, and maybe Pablo will tell us more about the origin as well, about the Catalonia assemblies. And of course, there is an interest from some civil society organization for going for that. But then the climate assembly is the participation 3.0, we can say, inclusive participation 3.0. We go next slide, because I think that the time is finished. So just an overview of the three assemblies that we had in CLIMAS. One is on the Catalan side, with the production of 48 recommendations, and mainly on the agri-food system and the energy transition without the climate change. I imagine that more content will be provided afterwards. Next slide, please. The rural assemblies that we had in the Edermunde municipalities in Germany. And there this is very key assemblies, because very oriented on the critical aspect of land use. Do we use lands for agriculture, or we use lands for building residential building? So there is a lot of things to say about this dilemma. Next slide, please. We have the overview of Riga on the Riga Assembly. This is really the baby of CLIMAS, because it was co-funded by the project of CLIMAS, and as well by the climate change foundations. So this is where we try to exploring and all the experimenting of the tools that we have. Next slide, please. There is a different part of the value-based methodology that I already talked about the dilemma. Next slide, please. And why it is important. Next slide, please. So we go out from the expert-based participation to the citizen-based participation. Next slide, please. And then another aspect that we used, another tool that was very key, is the future scenario building that was in some way tested in the Edermunde assemblies, and what were the main output, like to establish a climate as decision-making criteria for land use, and to how Edermunde can become greener, and so on. Next slide, please. And this is just the step further that we try to do, to go from European scales to worldwide scales. And we did this joint paper with joint poster presentation during the American Geographical and the Climate Change Conference, the AGU, where we try to compare the key aspects of the Catalan assemblies with the key aspects of the Puerto Rico assemblies, with different kind of initiators of, we can say, from one side and the other. And the next slide, please. I think that's all. Thank you very much for all, and I apologize for taking a little bit more time. Thank you, and I'm here for answering to all your questions.
No, thank you very much, Florida. It was a very interesting presentation as always, and I hope that this has opened up a bit, the interest of participants and the appetite to put questions. I see one already. It is recorded, the session, and indeed will be available afterwards. Now, before we go to Arantxa's presentation, I want to see if there are any questions to Floridea. I know that if I understood correctly, Floridea, you will leave earlier today, yeah?
Yes,
If there
really
is,
sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries. If it is any questions from the audience, I will write down and I will send it to you afterwards. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much once again, Florida, for the presentation. And now I'll invite our colleague from the Liberativa, Arantxa Mendiharat, to start her presentation. And while she prepares this, I can say that she's a co-founder of this partner, the Liberativa, together with Iago, with whom we work very closely in CLIMAS project. She has been dedicated to co-designing, implementing and promoting different processes for citizens' deliberation, especially in Spain. She is author of very interesting books. Arantxa, I'm really looking forward to having this book, if it's in English, and to read it. And your work in the project, yours and Iago's work in the project was very interesting, looking especially at the methodological aspects of setting up a climate assembly. Looking forward to hear more from you. Thank you, Arantxa.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here. And I would say that my book is only in Spanish. I am talking right now from Bilbao. And I will present you very briefly the main features of this manual about designing and setting up a climate assembly that has been developed within CLIMAS project by my colleagues Iago Bermejo and Victoria Soler. I was not so involved. And of course, all the other members of CLIMAS team, included Pablo Garcia, who will speak after me. So citizen assemblies, you have already explained what they are, and I'm sure that the persons who are attending are fully aware of the importance of the tool. They were born in the actual format, in the current format 20 years ago, and they started self-calling climate assemblies 5 years ago, when they were, of course, more focused on climate issues in the UK's. So we thought it was a good moment now to, there are already many manuals, many guides explaining how to set up and design a climate assembly, but we wanted to go a bit further and really start from the weaknesses. Acknowledging, of course, all the successes of those climate assemblies that are very, very hard to put in place, and so acknowledging their successes, also really trying not to avoid the weak points of those assemblies, and trying to build a manual really to address those weak points. So the challenges we have seen that are happening with climate assemblies, but also citizen assemblies in general, are the lack of political buy-in, remits that are often vague or too wide, as you said, Floridea, with a limited follow-up, and at the end of the day, with an impact that is not as strong as we would like to when we start the process. So for that, we thought we needed to focus on the agenda setting, on the content provision, what information is given to the assembly, on the citizen engagement, and on the follow-up. So this is really a manual thought to design effective, legitimate and balanced assemblies. When we say legitimate and balanced, we mean that we would like assemblies that are recognized by all political parties, not only by the party who is governing and who is activating the citizen assembly. I would like to remind that a citizen assembly is, or a climate assembly is a tool to reach an agreement between citizens when the political parties cannot reach this agreement among them. And it's a crucial agreement because we are talking about long-term policies within important topics. And so to reach that legitimacy and to reach that balanced assemblies, we think we need to work on trade-off, on future scenarios, and on effectiveness. So this manual is really a full methodological manual that is starting from the pre-assembly stage, which is normally at least 1 year before the assembly starts, to the post-assembly follow-up, which is at least several years after the assembly ends, because the follow-up, of course, is as important as the assembly in itself and the preparation of it. So it goes through the entire process, from the feasibility check. Do we really have the minimum conditions to activate a citizen assembly? And particularly looking at do we have all this political spectrum supporting the citizen assembly, the stakeholder activation, the agenda setting, as we said before, citizen recruitment, content design, facilitation, deliberation dynamics, and implementation strategies. So this is not. So this is really a manual thought for very ambitious assemblies that want to activate high-stakes processes and with policy relevance and long-term goals. The key features are how to frame assemblies around clear trade-off and scenarios, how to ensure balanced government and balance expect content, how to embed from the beginning, from the day you start designing the assembly, follow-up mechanisms to reach a real impact, how to design indicators to assess the effectiveness of the assembly, and how to promote inclusive facilitation and citizen diversity. So again, this is not so much a manual thought for newcomers, for beginners, let's say. It's for people that is seeing that we need to explore innovative approaches to go beyond established practices. And again, to reach this impact we all need when organizing a citizen assembly. So I think I mean, you have already quoted the 3 citizen assemblies that have been done in Catalonia, in Edermunde, and in Riga during this climate project, and of course all of them have been feeding this manual. I think that I mean, you will have a much more concrete approach of what this manual is telling. Hearing now Pablo Garcia, who will tell you about the Catalan Climate Citizen Assembly. This manual will be very soon available online. And I think my colleagues will give you all the details about that after our presentations. Thank you very much. And I am also open, of course, to any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arantxa. Very interesting, and thank you for all the work you and Iago and your colleagues in Deliberativa put on in this project. Very interesting. personally, I learned a lot from this process, so it was very, very interesting working with you. As you very well mentioned, Pablo from the government of Catalonia has worked closely with you, and I'm very grateful to him that had a bit of time to join us in this training and present his experience. In my opinion, it was very inspirational and a lesson for everybody to see the collaboration between the government of Catalonia, represented by Pablo, and the civil society. It was a very, very interesting experience, and I hope that Pablo will give us a bit of inspiration from his experience. Just to say a few words while he prepares his presentation, he is a strategic project manager in the Citizens Participation Directorate of Government of Catalonia. He has a lot of experience in public governance and organizing a lot of deliberative democracy projects. Pablo, the microphone is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucia, and hi, everyone. Yeah, I'll try to illustrate some of the methodological guidelines Arantxa was explaining with our project. It doesn't mean that we apply the methodology exactly like it is defined right now, because we were somehow also co-creating the methodology while we were designing and implementing our assembly. But I think it will allow us to see some of the main features of the methodology. First of all, some basic features about our assembly. Floridea already explained what it is, what's a citizen assembly. And this one was the first citizens assembly held in Catalonia at the regional level. Catalonia has a population of 8 million people. And I work within the citizen participation unit of the government of Catalonia. That means that we have quite extensive experience in citizen participation project, but this one was the first citizens assembly, which is probably the most ambitious citizen participation project we've done to this point. There were, for this project, 2 ministers involved, and there was also a government agreement with the involvement of the president of the government. But the initiation of the assembly began with the demands of a civil society organization, Extinction Rebellion, who was demanding a citizens' assembly for Catalonia for quite a long time. So it happened finally. And once we received this information to how we could do that and this kind of thing, we started analyzing many other experiences. So we aim to innovate in some areas of the methodology, and we were also working together with CLIMAS, which was perfect because we had the same approach for this. Our project lasted from November 2023 to February 2024 with 6 meetings. And one important thing is that it was held in 5 different cities, which was quite a challenge in terms of logistics. But yeah, it was also good to celebrate all these meetings in several cities across the territory. We selected 100 citizens by civic lottery. That means that we say in the media that any citizen of Catalonia had equal chances of receiving one of the 20,000 invitations we sent. This equal opportunities approach that also Floridea mentioned in the beginning. And we applied for this civic lottery process 7 socio-demographic criteria, so that we had a representative sample of the populations in terms of age, gender, level of education, nationality, and some other criteria, which is quite a difference if you compare this with some other citizen participation projects. There was an important involvement of many experts, and we had also a professional facilitation team to run all the meetings of the assembly. And we try to facilitate inclusivity with many services like transportation or accommodation or some other services. And we also offered economic compensation for the work of the citizens, because they were working for 6 months in these 6 meetings, and they made quite a huge effort. Even more if you consider that they had to go to 5 different cities across the territory. That means that, for example, we knew some participants who had to wake up at 5 in the morning to go to the meeting, you know? And we were very happy because we had 83% of attendance, which we consider quite a success for our assembly. The output of the assembly were 48 recommendations on 2 different topics about energy infrastructures, the deployment of energy infrastructures in the territory, and also the agri-food sector, which is a very relevant economic sector in Catalonia. We run also an evaluation. I'll show you some data about it. And also, we are right now in the process of accountability and follow-up of the results of the assembly. Well, that's just some basic features. But if we talk about methodology, and I'll try to be not very boring and talk about some specifics of our project. But the beginning of in the beginning of the methodology, the idea was, or the goal of the methodology is to maximize the impact of citizens' assembly. And we consider impact here as impact on public policy, because of course there are some other impacts. There are impacts on our organization, for example, also on the participants or in the media. You can consider many different impacts, but in our methodology, we try to maximize the impact of the outcomes of the assembly in the public policy. And me as a practitioner and working in the government, that's very relevant, right? So there are 4 different drivers in the methodology for maximizing this impact. I won't go deep into each of it because there are too many and that would be very complex. But I will talk about some different points of the 4 drivers, which we consider are very relevant, okay? And how we work with that in our project. So the first one was activating core players, what we call also governance. So the goal here, when we talk about governance, was to maximize the integrity, the quality of the project, and also to come with an independent supervision. And that gives you more legitimacy. This integrity gives you more legitimacy for your project. So we think that it helps also for the impact of the outcomes, where these results are more are well considered by the different stakeholders, right? So for that, the goal was also to establish a balanced and adequate governance model, both internal and external in our case, because many times when you talk about governance, you consider external stakeholders, right? But for us, it was also important to consider the internal governance of the project. And what we did, or at least what we aim to do, we'll see later the lessons learned, was first of all, an analysis of other experiences. And for that, Noka has a great paper talking about different models of governance. And we were inspired by we thought that the one that suited us the most was the Scottish model, because it designed a technical secretariat, trying to strengthen the autonomy of the technical teams while ensuring the political and institutional alignment and commitment. There are some other models where you have like an external body, but then this alignment with this institutional alignment and this political alignment can be weaker, right? So that's why we prefer this other model with technical secretariat, also because there is a specific specialized unit of citizen participation in the government, and also another specialized unit in climate change. So we gather forces together, and we define this model with the very relevant role also of the oversight group. This was a group composed by external experts, both on democracy and climate change, and some other stakeholders, with a very relevant role to supervise the quality and the integrity of the project. So we met many times with this project to explain what we were doing and also to reach very important decisions together with them. Some lessons learned about this, the importance of strengthening the political commitment, and that means that when you work in an assembly on climate change, there are many different units of the government involved. And here these two units I mentioned, the climate change and the citizen participation, were very involved. Also, some others, of course, the energy one and the agri-food one, but there are some others. In the end, there were some others involved too. And we realized that you need to involve them since the very beginning in this governance if you want to have an impact public policy. Another lesson learned was to strengthen also the technical role of the secretariat, because they have to decide and to design and to implement most of the project. So we try to do that, and we are now even more convinced to strengthen the role of this technical secretariat. A challenging issue for us was the involvement of political groups. There were many debates about it. It was not easy. We informed political groups, but this is still an issue for many assemblies, I think. We've talked about it also with Arantxa and some other partners, because in theory, this is very like an advantage to count with them if you want to have this legitimacy. But in reality, it's very challenging to bring together all the political groups and not having there a conflicting or fighting space. So it's not that easy. And also another lesson learned or another reflection is how to involve more citizens in this governance model. You have the time, you have the resources, it's great. But at the same time, you have to reach decisions and be fast. So again, it is good, but when you have to work with that, it's not that easy always. But it's a challenge for us also to improve in this area. Well, the agenda setting, this is probably one of the most important things that we designed in the beginning for maximizing the impact. I was talking about it before. And I will start with so in the beginning, we also did this analysis of other experiences, and I have 3 examples of 3 questions from other citizens' assembly, one in the United Kingdom, in Germany, and in France. And you can see how they ask questions like how the United Kingdom can meet the government legally binding target to reduce greenhouse emissions to net zero by 2050. Or in Germany was, how can Germany achieve the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement? So when we saw that, and we had the same approach with our CLIMAS partners, was this is too much. I mean, first of all, it's too general. It's too much. There are many complex dimensions within climate change, and a climate assembly cannot give a proper answer to that. Not only that if you ask these kind of questions, probably will be the experts who can ask how you can reduce greenhouse emissions to net zero, better than citizens, probably, right? So what we tried to do differently was to apply what we call in the beginning a political dilemmas approach. That means that we went for much more specific issues in the beginning. Better to talk just, for example, just about energy than talking about all the dimensions of climate change. And also, for us was very important, as I said, the impact capacity. And that means also that it had to be suitable for citizen deliberation. So we went for, and not for experts deliberation. So we tried to design questions that involve conflicting values or political values, and not only expert knowledge. So we share expert knowledge, and you have to establish a public judgment for a complex issue that involve, for example, trade-offs or advantages and disadvantages, where citizens can assess if they are willing to go for very ambitious goals or not. For example, we finally designed 2 questions about the deployment of energy infrastructures, and we consider that this is very good for reducing emissions, but on the same time, it has an impact on the territory, on economy, or landscape, on certain communities. So the question was more about the criteria to deploy these infrastructures. To what extent are we willing to deploy all these infrastructures, considering the advantages and disadvantages, the trade-offs, right? So it's a bit more complex, the methodology, but more or less this is the idea. So some lessons learned here is that this approach is not easy. It has an impact on the whole process. And I will give you just an example. It's on the whole process, but during the facilitation, it was clear that, for example, citizens were trying to go sideways or not talking about the controversial issues. They needed to reach a consensus, but for reaching a consensus, it's easier when you talk about not controversial issues, right? So that was challenging for us, trying to focus all the time the deliberation on the controversial issues, on the dilemmas, because we all agree that a communications campaign is something that could be done. But okay, we were going more, okay, but we need to define some other criteria, right? That are not that easy. That if you go for this, you will have a very important impact on certain economic sectors, for example, right? We aimed to be specific. Now we think that we need to be more specific on the questions we did. For example, we asked about the future of the agri-food sector, but probably it would have been better to talk just about meat consumption and production. So that specific is what we are considering now for having a better impact. Okay, so yeah, this is like the process we follow now after these lessons learned, where we start working with experts to define issues, goal, impact areas, the barriers, the controversies, the trade-offs, and some indicators to finally define our dilemmas. I don't have the time to be more specific here, but the idea is that we want to design and to frame questions and dilemma that can have an impact on public policies, and at the same time they are suitable for citizen deliberation. These 2 things are very important for us. So content provision was another very important chapter of methodology, and also for us, actually, in my opinion, this is where we have a lot of room for improvement in any citizen participation project, and it's even more important for mini publics or citizens assemblies. So the goal here is to provide adequate information to help participants solve the issues, the dilemmas we put, right? Because these are complex issues, so they need to have good information and balanced information to reach a consensus or to have this public judgment. So what we did or aimed to do was we defined what we called with Deliberativa a deliberative curriculum. That means what all the necessary information a participant should know to finally define the answer to the question, right? And we define like 3 blocks of contents. I don't have here the time, but that was the idea. And to do that, we involve experts and stakeholders. But once you have this, and this was not easy, you have also to define how you facilitate all this information. So we design these products you see here. We involve experts in the assembly during what it's called the learning phase, organizing debates among experts and the different perspectives of different experts with different opinions about the same issue, right? And probably that was the most interesting was these debates, because participants could see what were the different perspectives and idea on the same issue before they could define the recommendations. Some lessons learned here. As I said, there's a lot of room for improvement and for innovate and to design different activities. But for us, some ideas are that the involvement of experts and stakeholders in this content provision should be not only in the beginning for defining the information and during the learning phase, should be during the whole process, I think. Traditionally, learning phases and deliberation phases are separated. We think now that they are not separated. Learning phase is also deliberation phase, and deliberation phase is also learning phase. So the involvement of experts through the whole process, we think that's something that could help. We could be more specific about it. If there are some questions, we can talk about it. Okay. So I think, well, I have 2 more slides and that's it, I think. Lucia, you tell me if that's...
You are over, but it's so interesting what you are saying, so I don't want to cut off.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. Okay, so democratic lottery, I think this is quite a well-established methodology for doing that. So the goal here is selecting a cross-cutting representation of your society. That's what we did. It worked pretty well. We had the advantage of working with the Catalan Institute of Statistics and also with Sortation Foundation for running this civic lottery process. We applied 7 social demographic criteria, and typically there are 2 throws moment. But what we did that was different probably was to establish different statistics scenarios that allowed us to choose a scenario where we thought that it could be easier to reach all the profiles that we were looking for. Because we know that it's more difficult to reach young people, for example, that it's more difficult to reach people from other nationalities. So with these statistics scenarios, we had more information and we had several options to decide how many invitations we sent to the population and to what profiles. So that helped, and we finally were able to select all the profiles we were looking for and all the goals we were looking for. We sent 20,000 invitations signed by the president of the government. And some lessons learned. Well, the impact of dropouts affected the representativeness we achieved in the beginning. So that's something to consider, that maybe you want to select more people in the beginning or have a more detailed process when you need to substitute a dropout. And another interesting thing in our case was a discussion about representativeness. For example, if we want to have a representation of the geographical distribution of the population, almost 70% of the assembly would have been from the metropolitan area of Barcelona. So there was a quite big debate within the government if we should change that. And we finally chose to have 30% coming from rural areas, 30% coming from medium cities, and 30% coming from big cities. I'm not saying that's the correct answer to that. Actually, I was against it, but this is a debate that can arise in maybe in your projects too. And that's the final slide. I think the evaluation, follow-up, in implementation. In what point are we now? Also, the CLIMAS project has a tool for evaluation. We conducted also our evaluation. Just a few things here. It was very interesting to see that most participants assessed very positively the project. They answered that they were willing to repeat the experience, that they were more aware now about the climate change challenges, that they will try to be more involved in climate change issues. but I think it was, let me see, it was, I think, I don't know, it was half of the participants have faith in the future impact of the recommendations. So that's something important to consider when we talk about accountability and follow-up, right? So right now we are expected to answer to all participants and the public about the impacts. So there was a change in government in Catalonia, and the new government has assessed already all the recommendations. Most of them have been accepted, and just I think it's like 2 or 3 were rejected. So we are right now at this point, and the government is expected to make public all these results before December. And we have established also a follow-up planning, which is also a challenge for many assemblies. So for the next years, there are several moments where the government has to inform how is progressing the implementation of these recommendations. And just some lessons learned here. There are some other impacts, not only in public policy, as I said in the beginning. So this project has been useful also and has an impact on the citizen participation infrastructures of the government. For example, we are using some of the tools for other participatory projects, not only mini publics or citizens assemblies. And as I said, the importance of the political commitment and the government units involved is key, and it should be done in the activation phase of the assembly. So before you start, be sure that the government and the authorities are aware of this accountability and follow-up. And that's it from my side. And if you have further questions, I will be happy to answer.
Oh, Pablo, many thanks. It's very interesting. You know, I was a fan of your work in the project and basically in Catalonia, and also at Arantxa and Diago's work too. So it was so interesting that definitely we have some questions from the audience at this moment. So I will start with the second one actually, because it's directly related to you, Pablo. If you have any issues with consistent participation from the assembly members after the establishment of the assembly, and how did you address it, if yes?
What kind of issues you mean in terms of attendance or some other?
Probably the constant participation of the members.
Yeah, as I said, we were pretty happy with the attendance because we were afraid that because we were going to different cities that this could have an impact on the attendance. It had, but not more than in some other assemblies. As I said, out of 100 participants, we ended up with 83 participants. And we considered that like pretty good. As I said, it was a huge effort. Some of them were coming from the Pyrenees, for example, from remote areas of Catalonia, and they were coming. So I was so happy with that. And I didn't know if I would have done it, you know, and so we were pretty happy. And there were not many other relevant issues. I would say, for example, we were talking, for example, one of the challenges was agri-food sector, and we had some people working in this sector as participants. So somehow they were stakeholders within the assembly. That was somehow an issue because they knew more about the issue, and they have a bigger influence on the participants. So that's something that happened. But in general, you can see it in the evaluation of the participants. It was great. I mean, they did their part, they did the job. So, but they don't trust so much in the impact on the policy. So now it's on us to show that the work they did has an impact. So.
Very interesting. And I think this is the next question is coming from the audience, and I think is somehow related with what you said. To what extent was difficult to identify issues on which the Assembly would have focused about, especially when people have, like you explained, different views and priorities on climate actions. Did you find difficult to find common ground between different groups within the Assembly? Yeah.
Yeah, to design the questions it was difficult. It was the first time we did that with this approach, and it was difficult. But we ended up with 8 different options of dilemmas and questions. So it was pretty good. And now, also with the CLIMAS methodology, we've refined it, and we are also, I mean, the citizen participation officers, let's say, we are more active in defining this. We are more efficient, and we conduct now interviews with experts in the first stage within the government, and after that with external experts. And we have like defined several questions to be able, and at the end of these interviews, we have enough information to be able to define dilemmas and questions options. So we are pretty happy with that, because now we can do that in 2 weeks. So experts give us the information, and with the information they gave us, we are able to assess if these are issues with impact capacity and suitable for citizen deliberation. When we do that, we check everything, of course, with the experts, because we don't know about the issue, but we can assess with the methodology if this is suitable for citizen deliberation. So that's one thing. And when within the assembly with the participants, it was difficult. Yeah, we had some issues with that. Actually, we had to make an intervention, because at some point during deliberation, they were going sideways and talking about the less controversial issues. So we needed to redirect the deliberation. This was also a bit controversial, and we explained it very well to participants, like, okay, at this point, you are talking about this, this, and this. At this point, this is what the topics, the issues, the recommendations you are elaborating. And between 2 different meetings, we made an assessment, okay, from this can have this type of impact on the issue. These ones are not controversial. These ones are not focused on the dilemma. So we ask you that we will collect all the recommendations, but we ask you to focus on these issues and these recommendations you're working now that are more related to the dilemma, that can have a bigger impact on the issue. And this was also checked with the experts. But we needed to make this intervention so that they were focused on the dilemma and on the question. Because of that, I said, this approach is not easy. You need to constantly work and refresh, and also with the experts. I mean, it was not easy in the beginning everyone has to understand very well what's the goal and what's the approach. Also the facilitation team, everyone.
Yeah. Very, very interesting, your insights, because we are talking about an, let's say, deliberation process in a country and in an area that has experience in engaging citizens and involving citizens in processes of deliberation. In other countries, there is no such an experience. And one of the questions is, from my side this time, and for both you and Arantxa, to what extent some of these experiences that you have, in trying to bring the citizens involved in a climate assembly, sticking with the questions that you put there, especially when there is no cultural experience, in deliberation, or basically in simple terms, people are not listened by the politicians, so the politicians do not have the interest to listen to the citizens.
For us, was very interesting. We were talking about it with some colleagues and also some partners. During the assembly, we experienced how citizens, when they are tasked with consensus recommendation work, they avoid controversy and fighting. While when you see parliaments where political groups compete, they are constantly fighting, and maybe the same issue, was totally different, and that was very interesting to see.
What is your opinion, Arantxa? Quick, your views.
Yes, it's something that we are experiencing also. It's not only that citizens are avoiding conflict, but I think that also from the preparation, we are now preparing another citizen assembly, and we are so afraid of political conflict because it isn't well managed between political parties, that we don't want to reproduce this in the citizen assembly. And so to find this right balance between really, as Pablo said, dealing with real dilemmas that normally also implies conflicts. And so really working on that, and at the same time not being afraid or assuming that this is going to be facilitated through a deliberation process. So this is something that we can deal with. It is also something that facilitation companies and also the government that activate those citizen assemblies are afraid of before we start. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. In this way, you reply to one of the questions here, that what is the major barrier observed for a local authority to set up climate assemblies? Somehow you address this question. I presume that there are many other barriers that you observe, but maybe we can reply offline to the participants to these questions, and through the channels that we have established in the project for interaction with our audience. Now, because the time is quite pressurizing us to finalize and go to the next let's say item on the agenda, not before thanking you, Pablo and Arantxa, for this amazing work that you have done, and looking forward to working with you in the future for these aspects. Now, from TVS, we have Suchi and Aziz, if I'm not mistaken here. There are some questions for them already in the audience, from the audience, but I will take them after Suchi's presentation. So am I correct? Suchi, you do the presentation, yeah? Okay, so Suchi is an water resources engineer at TVS, Technovative Solutions, and a company based in UK that are specialized in climate change solutions, and especially technical digital solutions. And they have worked very hard in the project to create to develop different tools, and did a lot of research on participatory climate adaptation strategies. They work closely with all the tools developers that will be presented in this series of the training. So I will I will invite Suchi to try to share the screen, and present.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Right. I see it. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Hello, everyone. Today, I will present the multilingual CA portal, and the focusing on the agenda setting tool, which is also known as KEBS tool, knowledge and evidence-based tool. So the slide is only for the quicker review. I have presented a demo video for your better understanding. Firstly, the CA portal, it's an all-inclusive web-based tool where citizens can actively engage in decision-making process that shape climate policies. So let's walk through the features of this portal. First of all, service. The main purpose of this feature is to allow facilitators to collect structured feedback and measure public opinion. So second, we can see the proposal features. These enable citizens and stakeholders to submit their own ideas or concerns regarding climate-related issues, fostering their concerns, fostering their opinions or concerns. Then there is a toolbox, CLIMAS toolbox. Under that, we have 5 different tools for now. They are scenario prioritization tool, SDPSR. I will the firstly scenario prioritization tool. We have already talked a lot about this tool. This is mainly for to evaluate and prioritize between different scenarios and give us a better result to which scenario we will pick for our understanding. Nextly, the SDPSR tool, mainly this helps us to frame complex environmental issues by analyzing drivers, pressure, states, impacts, and responses. There are several examples you can see in this picture. Then there is evaluation and monitoring tool. This tool is mainly focused on to evaluate and monitor the outcome from climate assemblies. We have an example also here, that Denmark's climate assembly. You can see from our portal in details. Next, we have agenda generation or KBS tool. I will talk about it later on this slide. So I just keep here. And we also have a recommendation mapping tool. This will be presented at training session 3. So I also skip this in this presentation. And we have guidelines and citizen science tools. Under guidelines, we input 2 methodology, 3.1, 3.2. There is a question from Iolanda on this manual for setting up. We will update it from 3.9, deliverable 3.9 soon as we collect them from our partners. Okay, now the KBS tool, it's an important component which drives agenda and dilemma generations in climate assemblies. This is mainly focused, designed to help organizers to identify and prioritize and refine climate-related issues by combining data-driven insights with expert and citizens' input. There is a workflow. First, we will gather inputs from participants, then data collection and initial filtering. After the data collection, we will extract keywords and climate context filter. After that, we will get our output and referencing. So we will gather inputs by providing keywords, social media data, news media data, printed media data from various sources. Also, you can upload PDFs, academic papers, or news articles, or if you don't have any, you can use our default PDFs or related articles. After that, this will collect data from your inputs and filtering that in climate context. After that, the related keywords, climate-related keywords will be filtered, and we will get a list of agenda and dilemma from our output section. In the video, we will get the proper idea how it will work, and in a final output, you have 4 list of things: list of dilemmas, agendas, frequency analysis, and sentiment analysis. And there will be also reference from which you get these results. So thank you. Now I will share my video for your better understanding. Please let me know if the sound is clear.
The Citizen Assembly Portal is a citizen engagement platform built using Odoo, designed to foster transparency, participation, and collaboration in governance through various integrated modules. It comprises 2 main components: an administrative backend and a public-facing portal. The admin side equips internal users with powerful tools for managing content, user roles, workflows, and multi-company operations, allowing various departments or organizations to function independently within a shared system. The portal side provides an intuitive and responsive interface where citizens can access information, submit feedback, and engage in participatory activity. The platform supports multilingual functionality, ensuring inclusivity across different language communities. It also distinguishes between three user types: public users who access open content without authentication, portal users who are registered participants with personalized access, and internal users responsible for system administration. This integrated setup enables a scalable and accessible digital space for meaningful citizen engagement. The survey module is a powerful tool for citizen engagement, allowing organizations to easily create and manage surveys for feedback collection or public opinion polling. You can build surveys with various question types, like multiple choice or text input, and use conditional logic to tailor the experience based on responses. Surveys can be shared via public links, email, or embedded in websites, making it easy to reach a broad audience. The module offers real-time response tracking and built-in analytics, helping you understand citizen needs and opinions instantly. Before sharing the surveys to the participants, admin can test it beforehand to check all the questions types, sections, and conditional logics are working perfectly. The proposal module allows citizen or end user to submit a proposal to his community and check whether other people support it as well. Citizens can post their proposal here, prove that it's supported by collecting minimum votes within selected days. Additionally, they can engage with proposals through comments and replies, and easily share them on social media to encourage broader participation. Additional tools, such as multi-criteria analysis and the DPSIR and PESTLE analysis, are integrated into the Citizen Assembly portal to support informed and structured decision-making process. Welcome. In this video, we'll walk you through the Multi-Criteria Analysis Tool, or MCA tool, designed to support structured decision-making where multiple criteria must be considered and balanced. Let's begin by creating a project. Start by clicking on the Create Project button. Here, you'll enter the project title, a short description, and select your region and country. Once completed, your project will be generated and ready for input. After the project is created, you'll see the main interface, which consists of two main panels. On the left panel, you can build your hierarchy of criteria. On the right panel, you'll input data and carry out evaluation. Under the hierarchy section, click to add criteria, and you'll see a visual hierarchy diagram begin to form on the right. Next is the criteria weighting step. Here, you can choose from three different weighting methods: direct, pairwise, and express. In the direct method, you enter numeric values directly to express the importance of each criterion. Once inputted, click Submit to save. If you prefer the pairwise method, you'll compare each criterion against the others in pairs, assigning relative values to express their importance. You can put values and then click Submit to save your values. For a quicker approach, try the Express method, which allows for rapid evaluation using simplified inputs. First, you have to set the number of scenarios you want to compare and then click Generate Matrix. After that, SME approach like pairwise and you can put values there. Moving on to scenario definition. In this step, users define how each scenario performs against the selected criteria. Enter your values directly. Specify how many criteria you're working with and provide relevant scenario details. After providing scenario details, click on Save All Scenarios option, and then you have to select Evaluation method for the scenario. Again, there is direct, pairwise, or express methods to score the scenarios. If you select direct method, you have to select units for each scenario from the drop-down menu. After selecting all the units, you have to put values for each scenario and click Submit to get the directly evaluated values. Here you can see the direct values. After that, under the normalization bar, you can see two different tables, one showing pending scenarios to be normalized and the bottom table showing the scenarios already normalized. To normalize any scenario, you have to click on that scenario, select your preferred normalization method, select the attribute and process, and finally click on Normalize. If you want to modify already normalized scenarios, you can try the same process by clicking on that row and select your preferred options. Similarly, complete all the scenarios normalization, and you can see one table showing normalized values for each scenario. After finishing the step, click on the analysis bar and select the AHPWLC method, and you will get the compared results among the scenarios. which will give an idea of which one is more suitable. Again, here you can see an example of a pairwise comparison, assigning values, submitting inputs, and saving everything in real time. Once values are submitted, head to the Normalization tab. Normalization is not required in pairwise and express method. This section automatically adjusts and standardizes values across different units or scale. In the final step, analysis, the tool compiles all your inputs, criteria, weights, and scenario evaluations. It then calculates and displays which scenario or option performs best overall according to your chosen priorities. You can find your completed project at any time under the Projects tab. The MCA tool is built to support a wide range of strategic planning decisions. Thank you for watching. Climate Evaluation and Monitoring tool is focused to help evaluation and monitoring of climate assembly. User can keep record of a climate assembly along with details of relevant authorities and participants involved in the assembly. It is also possible to create various activity under different phase and criteria and track its progress. Send survey links to relevant authorities, send documents for reviews, and keep everything organized in a single place. The Agenda Setting tool is designed to assist in generating agenda items for climate assemblies. To use it, first go to the Citizen Assembly portal and select Agenda Generation from the CLIMAS toolbox menu. If you are not signed in, please sign in to continue. To generate agendas, click Create Agenda. Assign a unique project name and project description. You will now see a range of input options. Type terms to select from our predefined list. It has info buttons at the top of the prompt. These provide short explanations and instructions to explain what each option is for. On the right, you can also see the instructions, which guide you through each step of using the tool. Next, select the year range to focus on. You can choose to use ontology, which helps produce a more contextually aware and logically consistent analysis. Then, choose the media outlets and social media platforms. Make sure to select YouTube for generating sentiment analysis in the output. Narrow your scope by selecting the country to get region-specific agenda terms. Upload files to add your own PDFs and reports. Then, click Proceed to get outputs. On the right panel of the output page, you'll find the input summary, which shows all the inputs and options you selected. The Dilemmas tab lists the identified dilemmas, with each entry representing a specific conflict. A detailed description of a dilemma can be viewed by expanding. The platform also includes a scenario prioritization feature, which lets you prioritize dilemmas based on your own criteria. The instructions are included right in the prompt. Just enter weights for each criterion so that the total adds up to 1, and the system will generate a prioritized list of dilemmas for you. The Agendas tab displays a list of generated agenda items. Expanding an agenda item reveals the specific dilemmas categorized under it, with references to the source. The first visualization in the Frequency Analysis tab is an n-gram frequency chart showing the most common multi-word phrases in the dataset. The second is a longitudinal graph that tracks the entered keywords that appear over the selected years, letting you see trends and shifts in the conversation over time. Finally, the Sentiment Analysis tab focuses on understanding public perception. It processes the data collected from the social media sources you selected and quantifies the sentiment expressed in the content. On the left, Project List shows all your previous projects. Finally, Favorites shows your saved projects. Guidelines are documents uploaded as a table of content for interactive navigation through different sections of the document. Currently, 2 guidelines provided by CLIMAS partner VUB and Deliberativa has been integrated this way. CS Tools menu will allow users to navigate various citizen science tools. Currently, there are 6 citizen science tools called Marine Litter Watch, Bison, City Layers, Open Sense Map, Minka, and Odor Collect are integrated using the GraphQL API provided by CLIMAS partner Eureka. The recommendation mapping tool utilizes natural language processing techniques to automatically map recommendations to key parameters derived from the COOF frameworks, linking recommendations to their relevant implementation frameworks and monitoring processes. To access the tool, users first go to the Citizen Assembly platform and select the recommendation mapping tool from the CLIMAS toolbox on the dashboard. After logging in, they are taken to the landing page. Scrolling to the bottom of the page, users find an input section where they can type in their climate adaptation recommendation. Then, users must upload their national adaptation plan file, and they can choose how many top-matched outputs they'd like to view for each criterion. For each criterion, like here, the stakeholders involved, the tool gives automated suggestions, providing contextually matched outputs by leveraging natural language processing techniques. Users can either fill in each criterion manually or choose from the automated suggestion box. The tool lets users view the uploaded National Adaptation Plan references via a link, supporting evidence-based policy alignment by showing if a recommendation is covered in existing frameworks. Users need to assign different roles to various involved stakeholders by typing the stakeholders for each role in this section. 4 different parameters, such as governance rules, potential challenges, and coordination mechanisms. Users can either provide their own input or select from the automated suggestions, while also viewing references from the National Adaptation Plan, like earlier in the case of related stakeholders. Users also have the option to create a group motor team or coordination team. If they select yes, they can add details about team leaders and member roles. If not, they can simply select no. The users then encounter the next parameters, such as implementation processes. Expected outcomes, which include both improved project resilience outcomes and community satisfaction outcomes, so displaying twice number of suggestions. Monitoring indicators. And finally, feedback mechanisms. All criteria can be filled in and navigated by users, just as before. After completing the parameters, users will see an optional prompt where they can upload any supporting documents they wish to keep. At the end, users receive structured and user-friendly results mapped to the relevant COOF-based parameters presented in clearly labeled segments. They can export the supplements as PDF or JSON. Section for portal user needs an option to manage proposals created by the portal user, bring documents assigned to them, and edit security-related settings.
Suchi, for the
Users
sake
who
of
has
the time,
user
I think I'll
have
stop
access to
here.
admin side user profile section where they can change the security settings, personal data.
Yes.
We should stop here. I know that there are only a few seconds in the film, but we should stop here for the sake of the time because there are some questions in the audience and I would like to reply. And there are some other announcements. Thank you very much for your presentation and for the film. And it is interesting, and it's worth mentioning that we will have similar presentations in other sessions of this training activities that we are doing. Once again, thank you, Suchi. Thank you, Aziz, for your presentation. And I think you have a question, from the audience. To what extent digital tools like you have developed could help in making people more involved in the assembly activities and thus prevent the dropout? So any of you, Suchi or Aziz, please jump in and please reply. And then Pablo and Arantxa, give us your views on this, please.
Well, to avoid dropouts, maybe it has to do with the design from the beginning, from creating the best conditions so that then people get involved because they see it's, as Pablo said, it is being a process with impact, and so it's meaningful for them to participate. and also I think it's also the role of facilitation to create a very close relationship with each of the persons participating, and so that each of them feel they are important and they feel protected and accompanied. So yeah, I would say that this would be the main recommendations to avoid dropout. Maybe Pablo has other.
I can't hear you, Pablo.
Yeah, but the question was more about what we think about the digital tools, or yeah? Yeah, I mean, for me, when defining the question, the framing, digital tools can give you information useful, but it's not gonna give you the question and the specific issue. That's my experience, at least. So I think these kind of tools can give you useful information to start focusing the issue you want to frame. But it's a starting point, I would say, for me. It's not the final product, I think.
I think it's a support in this one. Yes, Suchi, yes.
Yeah, with due respect to Pablo's opinion, I have also an opinion regarding this. I would say that digital tool will help people to prevent dropout, because not it's not possible for everyone to participate personally, so they can at least feel that essence of climate assembly or that outcome or recommendations from these digital tools. Obviously it's better if you can go and personally attend there, but it's a better option if you can't. It's my opinion.
Yeah, of course. Actually, in our assembly, we held a meeting online too. So in that regard, of course, it's something you can combine. I tend to think that only an online assembly would be too much, in my opinion. If it's everything it's online, of course, you need to assess what are your conditions and everything. But I totally agree that it's a great resource and a great way to use. In our case, it worked pretty well. The online meeting we had, it worked pretty well. So also depending on the goals of each meeting, you can also decide if it's better for online or in face-to-face. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's very important to have a balance here. I think you have to take into account also the characteristics of the participants, and sometimes to take into account that sometimes it's better to have other options, rather than in person. There are persons that they do not like to discuss, face to face. They feel, let's say, limited in interaction with others for different reasons, and offering a digital solution will be good. But the question, I think, refers also at the opportunity to have digital tools, to support the entire mechanism of preparing and implementing and analyzing the results of a climate assembly. So I think this is where Suchi comes in, and with the TVS, in offering an opportunity for those that do not have the same experience, mechanisms, resources, to implement deliberative processes. So this could be a solution. Now, because the sake of the time, I'm looking at the time, we are already at the end of the allocated time slot for today's meeting. I'm sad to say that we have to stop, but let's reconvene somehow for other parts of the project on 9th and 10th of September, like Yolanda presents here. We will have 2 other sessions at the 10 CET, and we will welcome you to talk with other colleagues in CLIMAS about engaging the citizens and deliberating future climate scenarios, having more hands-on experiences from our colleagues, but also for how to monitor and follow up a climate assembly. Again, two very, very interesting, let's say, sessions with great presenters, again, from CLIMAS project. Now, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for interaction with the panelists, and especially for Arantxa, Suchi, and Pablo. Thank you, and Aziz in the background, for your collaboration for today's meeting. It will be promoted online by our colleagues from Deep Blue, and will be put online in different channels that they have set up. And I want to close before thanking my colleague Yolanda, who is the brain and the main actor behind and the energy behind this session of training developed in CLIMAS. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Have a nice weekend.